please. One.
This is a nightmare. And there seems to be no end to how long we're supposed to calculate the rent. You know, saying like the last case was like, okay, it's supposed to be 4 years, not 4 years anymore. Do you know how long we're going to do that?
No, you're confusing. No, you're talking about a 4-year statute of limitations versus J51. Let me just make one comment about J51. If you don't, you'd have to think long and hard to take J51. I'm going to tell you right now, based on the Roberts decision that happened at the Court of Appeals, you will never be able to deregulate any of your apartments. Forget about 2,000 as a number. You will never be able to deregulate that apartment. So you better think hard and long. There are people who are taking J51 benefits based on their conscious decision that what do they care about the number. That's number one. Number two, on the 4-year statute issue, there was an absolute 4 years that you can only go back as a tenant within a 4-year period. And what you did after that, too bad, you're out of luck. Court of Appeals ruled that if they can show fraud, they can pierce the 4-year statute. You're asking for a technical question of how you calculate rents, assuming you haven't committed fraud. I'm not saying you did or not, but if you are interested in terms of calculation, when I leave, Mitch, he's all yours. Mitch Silkin is our general counsel. The man who's had his hand up.
I came in a little bit late. I don't know if you touched on the subject, but Mr. Strasberg, since the battle lines are being drawn, I read in the, I think it was either the Wall Street Journal last week or the Real Estate Weekly, where an organization, which I think was on our side, a very powerful organization, the Real Estate Board of New York, seems, and I use the word seems, to be negotiating with tenant advocates, which belies your statement earlier about they will not negotiate under any circumstances, but yet they're willing to...
Number one, let me clarify. Okay. Let me clarify. I wish you were here earlier.
Okay.
Because I touched on it.
Late, so
number one, what you're referring to was an article in the Wall Street Journal on Monday when Steve Spinola, the real estate board, said, not to the tenants, he said in response to, in terms of the governor, we're willing to look at the issue of $2,000 threshold, but we'd also have to look at the entire package. Now, that in my mind was almost a disaster to us. The members of our board and everybody else, we were furious. We were able to push back that comment because the Senate Majority Leader, Dean Skilos, in spite of the fact that there are different voices speaking on different issues, except I'm consistent, the answer is no, held the line for us as an industry. And if you had been here earlier, the reason is this association rolled the dice last year. And we made it clear we were only supporting Republicans for purposes of balancing the legislature. And we were successful, Real Estate Board of New York was not. And that's the only reason we are not at this moment having significant changes in the rent stabilization law as part of the budget. Yes, anybody else?
Yeah.
I didn't say it was the last.
Were you?
I'm going to be leaving in 10 minutes.
Back to this issue.
Well, as I said to you, I don't want to get involved in creating a web page because then it's.
It doesn't have to be that wide.
Well, who else would go on our website? Tenants.
Dealing with the members. You reach us whenever you want.
All right, let me ask the following question. I'm going to probably backtrack based on the response here. How many think it's a helpful thing to create a site on our website in terms of people willing to sell their buildings? Not rent apartments, sell their buildings. Okay? And I would never get into apartments. You know, I mean. All right, see this reporter? This reporter, you know how difficult it is to find space on things that are really important to the entire industry? Sometimes we have to cut out stories because we are limited based on a variety of factors. Because remember, we're a not-for-profit and we have limitations on the number of pages we can publish as under a not-for-profit permit. So I do not want to get into a want-ad issue. The only times we get into one ant, not one ant, in terms of advertising, is when we provide a service to the entire membership, not an individual, because there, all of you will have a choice of either participating or not participating. Yes?
With a borough full of legislators that all signed a letter opposing us and urging Cuomo to...
Those liberal Democrats.
Is there anything that individuals like us can do between mid-March and June that are, we just, I mean,
No,
hopeless copy of
Some demonstrations.
let me tell you, we have encouraged this in the past, and I don't know how many of you are members of any other subset organizations like this phony small property, groups, but we have encouraged members who really get pissed off at their elected official to demand a meeting with their elected official, not by themselves, to get a group of people together, so that their elected officials meet them and they recognize that there are two sides to the story. And if you're not going to support our interests, or at least balance, equity. We're not talking, that at least if they're not willing, then you know what? The only recourse you guys have, which is equal to us, is we help run campaigns against people. When I say we try to identify people who are willing to run against them for primaries. If you think we have a shot, we will help in terms of resources. Because that's the only thing elected officials care about. If they know that there isn't any pushback, or there isn't a potential primary against them, they'll do what they'll do. And so the answer is, you know what, it really comes down to somebody's got to do the organizing on that kind of a level. And right now, our energies in terms of RSA can't be dissipated in doing that endeavor. We have to focus on Albany. And maybe that's an issue we should think about going into the future. Yes?
What's going on with RGB 40?
All right, can you hold that question? Because when our general counsel comes up here, he will deal with the challenges, not only on those kind of cases, but some of you may ask some broader issues, okay, because it'll allow me then to get out of here. Okay, this is what one second. This man hasn't spoken. You're one, you're two, you're three. All right, four.
I've heard some of your radio predictions.
Who are they what, sir?
Who are they aimed at?
They're actually aimed at elected officials to understand that this organization is not made out of multi-millionaires as they try to portray. I think our members need to recognize that we are fighting for them as well. And I will tell you, we've gotten phone calls from elected officials on both state and local who have told us they've heard it and they think it's great. It actually sometimes helps them in their arguments among their colleagues, because there is a difference of when you're dealing with the big guys versus you. There's a lot more sympathy for the small guys than the big guys, and so we've had some very positive feedback. And I don't know what Roger Meltzer, I don't know how he's on our board, and we talk about it on a regular basis in terms of what we try to do in terms of helping this, members of this association. Number two.
What part of the budget is used to maintaining these rent floors?
State. This is what happens, and it's going to be very quick. I'm not going to give you full detail. You are charged by the City of New York $10 an apartment. It's called the RSA fee. Most of you get really pissed off at us because you call us up and say, why am I being charged $10? And then we always tell you, it's not us, it's the City of New York. FYI, you got to bargain. We have stopped the increase. There's every year there's an attempt to increase it. That $10 has been maintained since 1984. All right? The city takes that $10, and remember the state agency, which is DHCR, they have an Office of Rent Administration. That number is probably $36 million. I will tell you that there is no way the city collects $36 million, so they're always in a hole, and that's why they're going to ask for increases to meet those costs. We would love to see $36 million spent in other ways, but, The people who work at ORA, many of them were political hacks where they dumped in there during Mario Cuomo's period of time. But they really regulate us. But remember, when you get your $10 fee, it's not us. Number 3, who's the third? Hi.
Hi. So my grandfather's a member of the RSA. He's a landlord. A lot of his friends are landlords. They donated a lot of money to Cuomo's campaign. I don't understand.
Cuomo's campaign?
Cuomo's back in the day, like no. The son,
Okay.
current governor. So they donated to him. I don't know, doesn't he realize that it's not people in rent-stabilized apartments who are funding his campaign? Doesn't he realize that he owes his allegiance to the land? I mean, what do we have to do to get him to play ball, I guess? Like, doesn't he realize he owes us?
Let me just say this, and this is a conscious decision on my part. Andrew Cuomo, because we always watched him, you know, how he operated as Attorney General. If you gave him money, in order to prevent the perception that that money helped influence his decision, he went out of his way to screw the people who gave him the money. Okay? So, my position was, we're not going to give him a penny. I don't care if he's going to be governor. Now, other groups, they gave him substantial dollars. I'm sorry to hear that your grandfather and all his other friends gave him money, because at the end of the day, they just might as well have taken the money, and it would have been better off going out for a nice dinner.
But what can we do to get him to work for us? I'm just saying, I know, but I mean, what can we do now?
He's a man with great ambition who wants to be the President of the United States. He will do whatever is necessary for himself. And it doesn't matter who gave him money, who supported him, anything to achieve that big goal, he will get there. If you're in his way, he'll crush you like his father did. And there's a lot to be learned from in terms of how his father operated as a governor for 12 years. So we have a lot of history. Yes, and then next. You're the last one, for me anyway. Yes.
You know the website,
Yeah.
could you create a website like that for owners so we could communicate with each other and issues?